So we're back again, and we're gonna kind of resume talking about keeping the branches back on these Trident maples. And this is about midsummer, and I've already done it a couple other times. So this is like at least the third time this year. We're gonna do some cutting back. And later on, after we do these cuttings, I'm gonna talk a little bit about maybe weaker branches that are in certain areas that you could strengthen them even though your tree is in a pot already. So we'll come back to that later. So a lot of times I like to do is cut the upper new growths back a little tighter on maybe the upper third of the tree, because there's this apical dominance that makes the upper limbs stronger. All the energy goes toward the top. And then I'll tend to a little bit make it a little longer cuts on the lower branches, just to even out the energy. So these upper branches I'm going to bring back to just one growth, one set of leaves. So I've taken all this off, I don't know if you can see that, and I left one set of opposite leaves underneath this. So I'll go through and cut all these back.
What was the feeding regimen for the last couple months from the last time we seen this tree?
Well, this year I decided to test out the, I usually use ammonium phosphate about once every month and a half. And this year I put on the, my growing, what is it called? Slow release fertilizer.
Okay.
And it seems like it's working probably equally as well. So, you know, it's saving me time to go every month and a half, where this goes on like every 2 to 3 months maybe.
So have you fed it yet since summer, or you'll probably come around to, because it's about 3 months?
Yeah, it's due right now for another feeding. And so anyway, I'm gonna go around the top. I usually kind of go around the upper level where I do it a little tighter, bring it back a little farther. Because you kind of get in this rhythm. Okay, you're gonna be cutting leaving only 2 leaves together. And you get in that rhythm. And then once I get the top done, then I'll work my way down. And then after I get it all trimmed back, then I'll go through and pluck leaves between branches to get more light inside. I'll keep that up. Okay.
Would you do this to an unrefined tree, like a tree that you're trying to grow out, or when would you do this process?
Oh, this process is really to maintain a tree that's already to the point where you're, well, a show tree maybe, that you don't want a lot of growth on, but you still want the density of the foliage, and you want to keep the inner buds strong. So it's more for older trees that you're maintaining. You know, younger trees, you want that fast growth to come out, and you don't want to be cutting it back too much. So in younger trees, you may want to let it come out longer and then bring it back. Cut it out maybe twice as long as this, and then bring it back, so that it strengthens the tree and it makes the girth larger on the limbs and the trunk itself. So let me turn this around. Do you want me to do this and then come back later after it's done?
Oh no, we can.
Now I'm going to go through and get inside here. Just pluck, and you'll see these lower leaves that on the bottom, their leaf petiole is a lot longer because they're stretching out to get that light. And so we, you know, it's kind of a guide, I guess, that you could do that, pluck those off first. But I missed a couple there.
What's the advantage of plucking versus like a full defoliation or partial defoliation?
Well, you know, I usually don't defoliate unless it's unless I really want more growth in that area. I pluck them because you're just getting rid of the upper leaves. Say like the leaves that are coming here. If we keep these off, then these branches get better light, okay. And then the interior buds stay stronger. So I'm not really looking for a whole new flush of growth to come out. I'm just kind of maintaining it. Now I have done it where I had a fall show and my tridents were all burnt through the summer. It was a bad summer, and then I did defoliate it then, and I think it was early September. I mean late August, early September, and it came out beautiful for the show. So sometimes it's, you know, you could utilize that defoliating that way if you want fresh growth to come out.
But that's only if you have a strong, a healthy tree.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to do it on a weak tree because it'll just make it weaker as it goes on. Now you don't really have to do the bottom branches because there's no limbs underneath, so you could leave those. You don't have to pluck underneath those. Okay, so it's pretty open. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you was there's sometimes an instance where the lower limbs, you know, we're not perfect as far as keeping those upper limbs balanced. So sometimes these lower limbs get weak, and this is Mr. Che's technique at the Arboretum. He's kind of oversees the Penjing collection. But anyway, what he does at his house is he brings up a terminal end of one of the limbs that he wants thicker. So maybe go like, you could use a little bamboo stick or some kind of wire. Let me bring this over this way. And you just tie this up here. Now, I'll use a zip tie to make it easier. Okay, so it's going to hold this little terminal end so it shoots up like this. And when it gets bigger, then it's going to have to, the lower part's going to have to support that new growth and all that, you know, energy there. So it'll help boost the strength of this lower limb. And you might do it in a couple spots, like 2 or 3 spots like that, to make that limb stronger.
So it's almost like a sacrificial branch, but you're keeping the branch technically. It's not a sacrificial, you're just thickening the branch or strengthening the branch.
Yeah, so what I'll do is after it gets thicker and stronger, then I'll remove this limb here and then just resume the
padding.
Mm-hmm. So you could do that on any tree that, you know, you think might have weaker limbs on the bottom. Okay?
Awesome. And that's the how many, and would this be the last part, because we're in early August, you know, late July. Would you do this process one more time, or would you, because we're getting close to the peak of our heat here in Southern Cal, which they kind of go dormant at that sense for about a month probably.
Well, if you keep it fertilized well, these growths just keep coming all summer, you know. So not as bad as a Chinese elm, you know, maybe, but it's almost. And so if you keep it fertilized well, we'll probably do at least another one in a month and a half. Probably.
Wow.
One last one.
And that'll be part of the last one for the year.
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay.
All right. if you guys like, subscribe and leave a comment for Lindsay. We'll probably work on that last Trident on the background right there, and then we'll call it a day. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks.